because of the misogyny and the racism that is so deeply rooted and animated that attack on the Capitol. You know, white supremacy and patriarchy are very linked in a lot of ways. There's a lot of sexualizing of that violence. And I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be
Yeah, yeah, I thought I was.
Later.
What is good, YouTube family? It's your boy Rashad, the Black Anomaly Rising Channel. Man, listen. January 6th, you all know what happened at this time. They call it the insurrection. One of the worst days in U.S. history. The coup against the government led by Donald Trump. That's what the narrative says. But Tucker Carlson, if you recall, was poking some holes in this narrative, along with now Mike Johnson, new Speaker of the House, after they ousted Kevin McCarthy. Mike Johnson is a beast. He might be one of the GOATs because he has vowed to and kept his promise to release thousands of hours of January 6th footage. The only exception being for things that he says might jeopardize the actual security at the Capitol because they have some hidden tunnels or something like that. But 44,000 hours of footage has been released. That's a lot of hours. I guess it's like a bunch of different cameras. That's my guess. So if anybody's wondering, well, how do you go 44,000 over it being 24 hours in a day, which is just January 6th, which is one day, then it's a combination of every single camera that they have, okay? So he released this footage and it's poking holes. Liberals are triggered already. I live for it. It gives me life. It helps just wake me up in the morning just seeing triggered liberals get mad at the truth being exposed. Why would you be angry at additional information? Because what people are trying to say is that this information is going to be leveraged to essentially like take away from the fact of what happened on that day. And I'm like, well, how is that possible? If what happened, then how is additional footage going to take away from that rather than contribute toward what the actual full picture is? It's like if you see a tree and you got this one tree and you're examining this one tree, but there's a forest and you're like, no, don't show me the forest. Nope. I don't want to see it. But then you see the forest and you're like, oh, now I get it. I see that all the trees that like are different. This one tree is dead. The other trees are alive in the rest of the forest, right? You could get a whole different picture from looking at one tree versus everything in the forest, right? So anyway, ridiculous example aside, there's footage here. You can see my screen here. Okay, January 6th. This is some people just walking. Okay, just walking here. They're just chilling. Nothing really to see. Like literally, the cops are right there. Nobody's being attacked. Okay, so it's as people said. Is there obviously going to be some people that are violent, some people that get riled up and do the wrong things? Absolutely, right? Of course. I mean, that's kind of how it goes if you have a lot of people in one place. That I would say, I don't want to call it normal, but if you're talking about political tensions being this high, then I mean, I would say, in my opinion, we got off pretty lucky on that day, in my opinion. So these people are just walking. I'm not going to play the full video, but they're just walking. You know, another dude in this clip, this is actually kind of funny because this guy just takes and he gets unhandcuffed and he literally daps the police officer. I'm going to see if I can pause it because it might be, sorry, I didn't zoom in here, but You guys should be able to see this. He literally daps the police officer. See right here, boom. Daps him right there. Okay, so it's like they're just chilling. You know, some of these people weren't even in trouble, but a lot of them literally were locked up and are still locked up. Some of them haven't even had trial, which is insane, right? And the guy just leaves. He's like, all right, I had my fun. I'm out of here. Another video. I mean, it's video after video after video. Now, they haven't released everything yet because Mike Johnson says he's going to release it over time. They said something about blurring out victims' faces, which they don't appear to do. So I'm not exactly sure whose faces they were trying to blur out, but they clearly didn't blur out everybody's face. But yeah, I mean, it's tape on top of tape. I mean, there's countless of these. I'm not going to show you guys all of them, but there's tons of them. So the narrative, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people about all these people that died, and I mean, they're comparing this to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor.
Well, Republicans mocking Democrats' theatrics on the anniversary of the January 6th riot as little more than a push to promote an election narrative.
Dates echo throughout history. December 7th, 1941. September 11th, 2001. And January 6th, 2021.
Many calling that bold comparison an insult to the victims and their families.
I mean, that is so freaking shameless. So shameless. You could probably take out the entire Capitol. I don't know exactly how many people is in there, but you could probably take out the whole Capitol and not kill as many people as they killed on 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. And not in the amount of people that were killed was literally one person in terms of actually killed. This was Ashley Babbitt. She was killed. And she was shot by the Capitol Police, right? So there's a whole narrative about this police officer being killed by a fire extinguisher. Total lie.
The mysteries of the January 6th insurrection is solved tonight. The D.C. medical examiner today ruled that Capitol Hill police officer Brian Sicknick died of natural causes. The autopsy report indicates Sicknick suffered from 2 strokes and a blood clot, or from a blood clot, the day after he confronted rioters.
It was a complete fabrication. Was this guy at the Capitol? And might you argue that if he wasn't there, then his condition wouldn't have worsened? You could make that argument. But you don't even really know that for sure. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know if he would have just dropped dead the next day or not. Like, you can't say, well, the extra stress drove him over the edge. Like, how is that even provable? You know, like, this is something that, unfortunately, we don't know. The only thing that we do know is that he suffered from his blood clot and from his strokes. You know, that's all we know, right? So the only person that was technically actually killed was Ashley Babbitt, right? And even this Ashley person, she wasn't even necessarily being violent on that day, but they were trying to get into Capitol chambers, and then they were just trying to stop the people, and then they just, you know, I don't know if they just freaked out and shot her, but however it ended up happening, she ended up getting killed. That was one of the protesters. It wasn't the Capitol Police. It wasn't staff. It wasn't congressmen or congresswomen. So when people compare the deaths of Pearl Harbor in 9/11, that is sick. And actual terror attacks by actual freaking Al-Qaeda on 9/11 and by the Japanese on Pearl Harbor. Let's look at the deaths here. Okay, Pearl Harbor deaths. 2,400 deaths on Pearl Harbor. Right? Okay, September 11 deaths. 2,996. You're comparing January 6th, like, hold on, this footage with a dude dapping up the cops, right? Like, people are saying, oh, these are cherry picked videos. Like, some people are already freaking out, oh, they're cherry picking videos to try to make it look like it's peaceful. I'm like, what the hell do you think the other videos were? This is actually inside of the Capitol. Outside the Capitol, where things more chaotic, I agree with that. At least it got to that point at a certain point. But inside, this is what you get. Now, as they release more footage, we'll see if I'm wrong. But so far, what it looks like is that the Democrats, They wanted a narrative. They wanted something to cling to, and they have been clinging to it. They're going to keep clinging to it to try to say, well, this is what you get if you vote conservative. These are the people who you get, even though the Democrats have literally commandeered the Capitol multiple times after January 6th, because they're so emboldened now. They don't care, and they're never going to say it's an insurrection. You know, and I don't consider this an insurrection. I consider it a disruption of the Capitol. You know, like, I'll give you that, a disruption, right? But an insurrection, like, with no weapons? Like, if people are saying they have weapons, flagpoles and pepper spray. Pepper spray is something that people regularly carry, so I'm not buying that. Like, actual firearms, I would consider to be serious. Like, yeah, they coming to take something over. But pepper spray, flagpoles, and batons that they took from officers that were hitting them over the head, they were hitting the protesters over the head with it. And a lot of protesters were like, hey, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to take your ish and hit them back with it. Right? So, like, this wasn't some sort of major coup. Like, we just going up there, just guns ablazing and slaughter everybody. Like, it's our government now, MAGA country. That's what people act like this was. It's insane. And I'm glad that this is getting exposed. Let's see more liberal tears. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm tired of the nonsense, man. Tired of it. Tired of the lies. There's legit honesty. There's legit things you could criticize MAGA, Trump, Republicans for. But when it comes to lies and just making stuff up and just endless virtue signaling, theatrics, that's where I draw the line. That's why the Democrats lost me, and they're losing lots of black people just like me. As this channel keeps on growing, they're going to lose more black people just like me. Unless they stop the nonsense, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse for them. They think they're winning right now, but the tables are turning, baby. Trump 2024. Catch y'all next time. Peace.